and welcome to the stream. I bet you didn't see this one coming, huh? So yeah, this is gonna be um, a live session of me trying to practice some Russian. So the title Russian for Mathematicians certainly deserves a little bit of an explanation. Why would someone commit to such an effort? I'm not saying I'm committed, okay, but why is Russian worth learning, or like how much value do you get out of it? And what is the purpose of this? Um, so yeah, this hi Loki, thank you very much for joining the stream. Um, yeah, I figured perhaps this is a little bit unconventional, but I just want to give a little bit of a motivation for why we do this, why we do this. Just like in a regular math stream, we always explain our motivation. Okay, doesn't matter if it's technical or is it more practical. We always explain why we do certain things. So, of course, first of all, based on the main content of the channel, applied mathematics, probability and stats, that sort of stuff, is certainly there's certainly a moderate case to be made to learn Russian because the Soviet Union made a lot of contribution to these areas. After all, Kolmogorov axiomatized probability theory and subjects such as optimal control. We covered, I mean, we didn't cover, we had one live session earlier, was hugely influenced by the Soviet work. Right? So there's certainly cases that can be made to learn some Russian. And sorry, my bad, my voice is not the best today. But there's certainly a moderate case to be made to learn some Russian and pick up some original work about how the Soviets did certain things. However, that being said, it, if you're a research mathematician or a research applied mathematician, I would actually argue it is perhaps uh, it is perhaps you should think twice before you commit yourself because nowadays most of the foundational Russian texts are systematically translated into English, and nowadays the current Russian research were published concurrently in English and Russian. So, and of course, English in the mathematical world in general is pretty much the lingua franca. So why would someone still to at this day, right? Still now that the Iron Curtain is gone, oh, well, with asterisk, um, is why is it still necessary for say a research mathematician to learn a particular language simply to read a literature that largely now exists in English? Um, my answer to that is that it has less to do with the actual literature itself, but rather has to do with the classic Soviet pedagogy. So even though things like, for example, things like Kolmogorov's work on probability, Alexandrov's papers on topology, Pontryagin work on optimal control, these sort of things, these are foundational works, were translated into English. A lot of the pedagogical papers, which we'll show in a few minutes, and as well as concrete applications, remain largely untranslated. So there's a case to be made, and on this channel, you probably can tell, I'm a great admirer of the Soviet pedagogy. Okay, of course, this does not translate into a endorsement of the political system. Okay, just in case this is still not completely obvious, but yeah, the reason for that is in my opinion that there's very little arbitrary separation between applied and pure mathematics in the Soviet tradition. You don't see a very early commitment to split students into applied stream and pure stream. right? So if you come from a Western academia background, you probably know, okay, if you choose pure mathematics, starting from university year one, you probably take calculus based on, say, Spivak, and linear algebra, say, from Sheldon Axler's linear algebra done right. They're very proof heavy and very little application just from the material itself. And if you're in the applied stream, chances are you start your calculus journey with Stewart, James Stewart, a fantastic book also. And then linear algebra, you use something similar to Gilbert Strang's linear algebra. Highly computational, a lot of pictures and applications and whatnot. And you continue down the road, and say in your third year, applied students tend to take, for example, partial differential equations, perhaps some probability and stochastic process, that sort of thing. And in pure math, you study advanced real analysis, perhaps not super advanced, but certainly more advanced than your typical applied stream curriculum, and abstract algebra, that kind of thing. And the pattern continues, right? So that's the idea. I would say that's what I was saying. However, in the Russian tradition, there's very little separation between quote unquote applied versus pure mathematics until at a research level. Until at a research level. So, I mean, of course, this is not against specialization. Okay, this is certainly not against specialization because mathematics is so huge, and individuals' lifespan is very limited, right? In order to produce, to create original contribution. I mean, for vast majority of human beings, okay, unless you're, say, at the caliber of Kolmogorov himself, it's unlikely that you're going to make contributions in a number of areas. Let's just be honest. People specialize, right? This is just for economic reason, but this is not a scientific reason. So, at a very early stage, it is perhaps not the best idea for student to hyper specialize. Okay, and nowadays, because of the surge in discrete mathematics, some may even argue, oh, we should perhaps just have a dedicated stream of discrete mathematics. Okay, so you don't necessarily need to do the traditional, say, calculus, real analysis, that sort of thing. Just focus your effort on discrete mathematics and whatnot. Right, so of course there's a case to be made, right? As I was saying, like mathematics is so huge, but this is certainly not the Russian thinking. They at the foundational level, it doesn't matter what you choose to specialize later on. You take the same course, you take the same courses, and a lot has to do. And there's many reasons for this. Okay, that's just my opinion, but there's in my opinion, and based on my own observation, I think it has to do with how it has to do with traditional how should I put it, the metaphysical way of how Russian thinkers, even from very early centuries, how they see the world. They see this. They seem to have this unity, this view of unity among across the universe. Okay, across the universe. I think that's a very not very accurate way to put it, because I'm not a philosopher, not a historian, not that sort of thing. That's one, but also due to the fact that the Soviet Union was very isolated. So in order to collaborate, the researchers have to cope with that situation. So it is very, not just because of the philosophical stance, but because of the practical lesson. Oh, what's this lecture later? Really interesting with that. Okay, no worries, no worries. I'm just like right now I'm on vacation. I'm just doing whatever I want. Okay, so feel free to catch up later. So anyway, I was saying that researchers have to collaborate among themselves. It's not that big of an oddity for an algebraic topologist and a rocket engineer to sit in the same room and discuss the same problem. So there's practical reasons for this too. So when it comes to the the Russian literature on mathematics, we have to talk about a watershed event, really. Why suddenly, almost overnight, yeah, the topic can't really be predicted. Yeah, yeah, Verno. Hi. So, why suddenly, almost certainly overnight, Russian mathematicians, Soviet mathematicians, almost started exclusively publish in Russian? Because originally it's not the case. Even in the late Tsarist imperial time and in the late imperial time and early Soviet time, a lot of the Russian and Soviet mathematicians still publish in foreign journals. For example, Kolmogorov himself published his foundational work on the axiomatization of mathematics in German. I suspect it was because of he didn't just axiomatize probability for his own sake. He was trying to answer one of the Hilbert's problem. I forgot if it was the fifth or the sixth. Actually, probably the fifth. Huh? Anyway, so it doesn't matter. So because at the time Göttingen, headed by Hilbert, was considered the highest level of research in mathematics at the time. So it is very natural, I think, for a researcher to publish in German in order to maximize international impact. And almost immediately, and it paid off actually, almost immediately after the publication, Kolmogorov was instantly recognized as the leading expert in probability in the world. So it did not happen, it wasn't the case that Soviet mathematics was only publishing stuff in Russian. Okay, it's not always the case. But why did that suddenly happen? It has to do with an infamous political event in the USSR. So here you go. Let me just gonna put out the screen here. So yeah, it has to do with this so-called Luzin event, a Luzin affair. And who is Nikolai Luzin? Actually, we're gonna encounter a theorem in our measure theory stream very soon. So we were right now in our measure theory stream. We're in chapter 2, on measure. In chapter 2, there is a theorem called Luzin's theorem. It's about measure. Okay, I'm not gonna get into this in detail, but this is a theorem that named after him, Luzin's theorem. All right. So Nikolai Luzin was a Russian and Soviet mathematician. He had a seminar. And actually, most of the big names we know nowadays were in the Russian tradition were students of him, or actually have his lineage, his academic lineage. People like Kolmogorov and Alexandrov, and among others, were his students. So this guy can arguably be called the founder of the Russian school, in a sense. Okay, one of the founders, at least, of the modern Russian Soviet school. So highly influential figure, especially in real analysis. So what happened to him? So that's the question. So Nikolai Luzin, unfortunately, suffered a purge. Suffered from a purge during the Great Purge in the Great Terror during the 1930s. So, what exactly happened? What exactly happened? So, well, it is complicated, but I'll just put it as shortly as possible. Okay, Luzin affair of 1936. A group of students, Luzin's former students, claimed there appeared active counter-revolutionaries among the mathematicians. And actually, including Lev Pontryagin. Lev Pontryagin, hi, I'm from Russia. Привет. Здравствуйте. Lev Pontryagin, we saw his work a few streams back, how his work on the Bang-Bang principle, and also, of course, the maximum principle. Okay, absolutely foundational contribution to optimal control theory. And he's also a topologist, as I was saying, like very little artificial separation between pure and applied mathematics. So he did fantastic work. However, he's also unfortunately involved with some very questionable activities in the political sense. So he accused his teacher, Luzin, and what happened later is rather unfortunate. A lot of his previous student, Luzin's previous student, including Alexandrov, Hinchin, and Kolmogorov, accused him of plagiarism from a bunch of other people. And one of the, so to say, one of the indictment towards him was that he publishes his first-rate papers in foreign language, in foreign journals, and only published his second-rated papers in Soviet journals. So that was one of the accusations against him. There's some other things. His doctoral advisor, Yegorov, was very religious, which run against the official Soviet ideology, that kind of thing. So, but anyway, compared to a lot of the victims during the Great Purge, Luzin's fate was actually pretty mild. I guess it was because Stalin was more concerned here, because Stalin was more concerned with the forthcoming trials of his political opponents and didn't think Luzin was a threat. So he was only mildly punished. He didn't went to the gulag or physically hurt or anything, but his reputation was shattered, and that's about it. Okay, he lost his position, and later on he was rehabilitated. Okay, so that was the Luzin event, Luzin affair. But the impact towards the Soviet math community was very huge. So not because of the productivity. The productivity was still great. As Mac Tutor Math History, also great. Actually, this Math Tutor History of Mathematics, great website. Okay, great website for anybody interested in the history of mathematics. The comment on that is that the Soviet community recovered rapidly from the Luzin affair. Okay, when it comes to actual productivity, not much was harmed. However, it did change a great deal about how mathematics was communicated. Starting since the Luzin affair, Russian mathematicians started almost exclusively publishing in Russian and not in foreign language to avoid similar accusations. Okay, so there's that. So the isolation of the Soviet mathematics community, to an extent, was self-imposed. I mean, not the mathematical community chose to, okay, but because of the political reality. Okay, so anyway, that's what happened. However, of course, during the Cold War, Western math community realized, okay, the Russians were doing something very substantial there. So there was a systemic effort to translate foundational work into English, and nowadays perhaps it is not an extremely strong case, as I mentioned, as a research mathematician to learn a specific foreign language. So, however, as I was saying, the classic Soviet pedagogy, as well as some applied work, which largely remain untranslated, is still very valuable. So I just want to give an example for that. Just because right now I'm still not getting into the language because I think this is a massive commitment, and you can't just learn a language in one live session, of course. So if you want to do this, you might have a good reason. You need a good reason to do that. So here, this is an example. There's a magazine called Quant. Okay, it literally means quantum. Okay, quantum in English. The name is called Quant. So Quant was a popular science magazine in physics and mathematics for school students, school students meaning high school students and teachers, issued in print between 1970. So it started from the Soviet time, and the print version ended in 2011. All right, so but it's still online. The magazine didn't die. Okay, it's now fully online, which is a good thing, I suppose, because it's hard for me to get a physical copy anyway. Right. So it was introduced by Pyotr Kapitsa. He's a physicist. Its first chief editors were physicist Isaac Kiokin. Okay, sorry for mispronunciation. Well, that's the reason we're trying to practice, and as well as Kolmogorov. So, I just want to give a little bit of a taste of what popular science in the Soviet Union looked like. Okay, this is not your typical. I don't know. I mean, this is. I mean, of course, I'm trying to not to poo-poo on like any creator whatsoever. Okay, just very different style. The distinguishing feature is that it does not water down the mathematical rigor. Okay, so let me just take a quick look. I mean, I know a little bit of Russian. I picked it up during COVID, but I'm still, I would say I'm like A1. Okay, very basic stuff. So here, this is the online version, the archive. Okay, the archive of Quant. So this is perhaps, yeah. So here, as you can see here, this is 1970. Start perhaps the very first issue. And this is written by Kolmogorov. Что такое функция? What is a function? So Kolmogorov wrote an article called "What is a function? What are functions?" And it says, in this article, it explains the modern general understanding of the word function. The article is not for Liekova. Okay, I don't know. Okay, so anyway, I'm trying to practice. So here's the actual content, as you can see. That's the next page. Okay, it does not water down the actual mathematics. It doesn't. I mean, even though it's a popular science magazine, it is still very rigorous. Okay, it's not watered down at all. Okay, it does not say because it's a popular science we're going to use a bunch of vague analogies. It's actual mathematics and is explained by a world-class mathematician. Examples: Peter, Kolya, Sasha, and Volodya live в комнате, in a room. I think this is a dormitory. Anyway, so yeah, this is a popular science in the Soviet Union. And here, this is a modern understanding, the general understanding of functions, mapping from one set to another. We all know this stuff. Okay, so it started from the more intuitive understanding that you have a graph and a paper. Sorry, you have a graph and a table, and then it move on to the modern understanding. Okay, so you can see how the modern and how the Soviet pedagogy works. There's very little artificial barrier between concrete thinking and abstraction. Just, I mean, if you, first of all, the level of exposition at a popular science level is very, considering it's a popular science, is highly rigorous. You can easily be mistaken to think, wow, is it a textbook or something? No, it's actually a magazine, which is, in my opinion, pretty unique. And speaking of applied works, Kolmogorov, for example, Kolmogorov worked for the Soviet government during the Second World War on Soviet war effort. So perhaps this is the website is it's called mathnet.ru. Okay, this is a massive archive for papers during the Soviet time. Okay, not necessarily during the Soviet time, but I think the majority of it was. Okay, yeah. So here, this is a paper written by Kolmogorov during the Second World War, 1942, and it has to do with ballistics, and actually perhaps more precisely on dispersion pattern. Right, so this was written during the Second World War. I don't think it is translated. So, okay, I'm gonna give a quick explanation for that, but once again, my limited understanding, all that disclaimer. So this was written in 1942, when the great, okay, I don't. Using the word Great Patriotic War in the West is perhaps politically radioactive, but yeah, just the Second World War, the Eastern Front was still raging on. And the shell dispersion, as you can see, is modeled after the Gaussian distribution, the sample means, and the mean square, MSE, or mean square error. This is a classic method. Okay, once again, I never read this paper, okay, but so this sort of work was not translated. So among many things, okay. So that's what I was saying. Like, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, there's perhaps a stronger case to be made for learning Russian. Okay. Anyway, enough of that background. Let's do some actual practice and the work and what material we're using. So I'm just going to show the actual snippet, the snippet of the book, because I don't want to get into DMCA trouble. So the title of the book is called Russian for Mathematicians, Русский язык для математиков, and written by, I don't know this person, probably Olga Glazunova. Okay. Once again, apologize for the mispronunciation in advance, but we're trying to get better. Okay. So this was published in 2004, and see what is this about. And actually, by the way, what is the difference between, say, a Russian for mathematician or just Russian classes in general? Well, because of mathematical literature is highly specialized, it uses very, so to say, distinct linguistic style. I mean, of course, we all know that from English. Just compare a regular math paper to, say, a traditional novel. The language is very different, and also the skill we prioritize is different. Okay, so there's not going to be any practice on travel phrases. Okay, so the majority of our effort is concentrated on reading and writing, and perhaps not writing, but reading is definitely a priority. However, but in more standard language courses, the skill you want to develop the most is listening and speaking. So it's a very different focus, and the kind of vocabulary you need to build is also different. Right? Just for our specific goal. However, of course, that being said, the grammatic stuff is largely the same, right, as expected. So here it says in the preface, Russian for Mathematicians is a complex textbook for those beginning to study Russian. It will also be useful for those already able to read mathematical text and is intended to improve their knowledge. So this textbook is intended for self-study. So that's a good thing. Here, so basically, it has two parts. It has two, as far as I know, or at least not separately. But basically, as you can see here, I'm just going to show the list of content. So first, it started from the basics. Okay, the alphabet, the Cyrillic alphabet, some grammar stuff, and this is part two. This is part I was just saying. This is part one. Okay, part one is the introductory stuff. Okay, and perhaps this is purely linguistic. And now you have the main course. So this is selected mathematical literature, differential integral calculus, theory of a function of a real variable, theory of a function of a complex variable, approximation theory, linear algebra written by Guilfand. Extremely productive mathematician. And general algebra by Kurosh. Or Kurosh. I don't know. The one thing I've struggled a lot with Russian is the stress. It's the stress. So I can't remember quite well where the stress is located. Is it Kurosh or Kurosh or Kurosh? I don't know. I have to look it up. A course in algebra. I believe he wrote the world's first textbook on group theory, which is quite interesting. Number theory, differential equation by Pontryagin, PDE by Petrovsky, calculus of variation, probability, mathematical statistics, that sort of stuff. You see, it already has a lot similarity to the areas. I mean not similarities, but literally the same areas we do on the channel. Stochastic processes, differential geometry by Sergei Novikov, among others. Set theory, Alexandrov. See, mathematical logic, Kolmogorov and others. Computational mathematics. Actually, Soviet-style computational mathematics was also highly interesting. So, Soviet-style computational mathematics is characterized by its extreme rigor. Okay, it seems like in the West, numerical analysis, that kind of thing, was sometimes considered an engineering tool. Of course, this is still true everywhere. However, numerical analysis was considered, or computational mathematics was treated with same level of rigor in the Soviet tradition as with, say, algebraic topology. Okay, and the reason for that is not just philosophical and academic, but because of the hardware constraint Soviet scientists had to face. They don't have access to the same level of computing power for experimentation compared to in the West during the Cold War era. So what they often do is they have to rigorously prove an algorithm actually converges. Okay, rigorously prove an algorithm converges before putting it on the machine. So if you read classic Soviet computational mathematics, it reads almost like applied functional analysis. So it's very interesting. Very good video about proving Fisher's lemma using analytic geometry. Thank you, chat. I didn't know. Okay, so that's the text. And now, when it comes to the actual study, I'm not going to show the book on live, but I'm going to use my own notepad. Okay, just like in our regular math stream. So starting from a notepad, also I'll write and I'll read. Okay. Anyway, so start a new one. Okay. And now we're getting to the first section. So after 40 minutes, we're ready to do the first section. This is not going to be a long stream, all right? So this one is going to be just an hour and a half, and I'll go do something else, and I'll come back to stream more actual math in the afternoon. Okay. Well, an hour and a half is short by this channel standard, I suppose. All right. So time for me to do some practicing. Okay. Once again, this is completely a personal project. Okay, I don't know how many people will actually benefit from this. I just figure it's interesting to me. I might as well share that. I share my passion, as they call it. Okay. Anyway, let's get started. All right, Chapter 1, called Introductory Phonetic Course. So let's write that. Phonetics. 1.1 Introduction. The letters of the modern Russian alphabet are a modification of the old Slavonic alphabet. The Cyrillic alphabet, which was created in Bulgaria at the end of the 9th century. For the translation of Greek prayer books into the Slavonic language. It was on the basis of Cyrillic alphabet that Bulgarian, Old Russian, and Serbian writings developed. In Old Russia, the Cyrillic alphabet began to be used from the late 10th century after the introduction of Christianity. By the 14th century, the Old Russian language had disintegrated into three languages: Russian, Belarusian, and Ukrainian. They developed separately but have retained many common features up to the present day. Alright, so that's some historical background, but now let's start with the actual language. In the modern Russian language, there are 33 characters, perhaps 33 letters. It's just called as 33 characters. Among which you have 21 consonants. We'll figure out what those are. And you have 10 vowels. You have 10 vowels. Bulgarian alphabet isn't the same. Okay, thanks for letting me know. I mean, I'm just reading it from the textbook. Okay, thanks for pointing that out. And two called diacritical characters. Diacritical character. Let's just call it special characters. Okay, special characters. So you have two special characters. One is called a soft sign and one is the hard sign. In Russian, I believe they're called a mягкий знак. Looks like kind of like a little B. Okay, mягкий знак, and твердый знак is hard sign. Like this. Okay, so this is the letters in print. Written Russian looks a little bit different, actually highly different if you're a beginner. Like the cursive writing is a little bit different. Okay, so this is, I'm trying to print the letters. One of the functions, not the mathematical function, one of the functions in a sense of purpose. Okay, one of the functions of the character, this is a soft sign. Okay, why am I using an ordered pair? Okay, this is just the bracket. Okay, this is the soft sign. One of the usage of soft sign is to mark the softness of the consonant, and thus the name soft sign is appropriate. The letter, this one, the hard sign, твердый знак, the hard sign, in spite of the sign, instead of the name hard sign, written lowercase uses Bulgarian letters that why it looks different in print, which uses Cyrillic. Good to know. Does not mark the hardness of the consonant. Okay, this one does not mark the hardness of a consonant, but it is used as a separating mark, indicating that the following vowel letter should be read with, okay, I don't know, read with E? I don't know. Okay, I mean, we'll see that later. Okay, so these are just two different, so they don't have signs in themselves. Okay, so they don't have, pronunciations in themselves. That's what it matters. So it serves as modifiers. Okay, it indicates how a letter should be read. Okay, based on my limited exposure to Russian, what I can say is it is highly phonetic. So how you read is largely how you write, which is a good thing. Unlike English, there's a bunch of arbitrary or seemingly arbitrary rules for spelling, and it's a pain. So you have to memorize these special cases. In Russian, things are much more consistent when it comes to the correspondence between spelling and writing. Okay. In the Russian language, many letters designate several sounds. The pronunciation of a letter is influenced by neighboring letters. Okay, so in most cases, a soft or hard consonant sound depends on the subsequent letter. Okay, so in most cases, the soft and hard consonant sound depend on the subsequent letter. So let me put that down. Often, a soft and hard So yeah, perhaps this is the way of study might look a little bit cringe from a linguistic. I'm doing it like the same way I do mathematics, like definitions, proposition, that sort of thing. But we're studying it for mathematics, and I think this method is perhaps somewhat justified. Subsequent, okay, subsequent letter. So the consonant depend on the subsequent vowel, subsequent letter that it follows. Okay, that follows subsequent letter. That's an important rule to bear in mind. The vowel letters. Okay, so the vowel letters says these are vowels. This is ya. Looks like a backward R. So, you know, if you live in the West, you probably know the toy store called Toys R Us. R Us. Toys. He uses the backward R like a Russian ya. This means I. Okay. For example, I live in Canada. Я живу в Канаде. This is like English I. And the second vowel, this is your. It's a big E with two dots on top of it. Your. So let me put that down. Okay, so this reads like ya, and this reads like your. Okay, and here this is you, a very odd looking letter. Linguistics. No, I'm not a linguist. Okay, as the title suggests, this is a session that I study Russian for mathematics. Okay, uh, this is you, I believe. This is you. Yeah, you. The famous cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin. His first name starts with this letter. The Russian is pretty decent, not gonna lie. Hi, Andrei. Thank you very much for joining the stream again. Yeah, so this is you. I guess I spent a lot of time for pronunciation when I was using Duolingo. I was trying as hard as I can to mimic the sound, even though I'm not fluent. Okay, so and then this is yeah, yeah. This is yeah. All right. Similar to German, I don't know. Like I don't know German at all. And finally, we have e. E is like backward or yeah, backward N, backward big N. This is E. This is E. All right. So and indicates okay. These vowel letters indicate the softness of a consonant. We'll see what that means. They indicate the softness of consonant. All right, so let's continue. And then you have another set of letters. This is A. Yeah, just like how you say ah in English. Ah, all right. And or. This is so a little bit of a distinction from the English O. Okay, so you say O in English, right? But this is in Russian. It's pronounced like or. I don't know how do you put how do you say a transliteration to that other than just or itself, but it doesn't read like O. It reads like or. It's quite distinctive. All right, how is this? The eighth one is called U. U. Like this. U. U. So it's interesting that in control theory, the word control in Russian starts with U. Is it upravlение? I can't remember, okay? But it starts with the letter U. So I guess this is the reason that in control theory, the function for control function often uses the letter U, because this is the transliteration of the letter U. So in control theory, right, y prime equals f of y and t u. This is the control dynamics. And the functional you try to minimize is a mapping of u. So it's an objective function you want to minimize. I don't know if it's related to this letter U. Okay, because in Russian the word control starts with the letter U. And this is e. This is e. E. Perhaps this is a okay spelling. Okay, not spelling, but you know what I'm trying to do here. This reads like e. And the last one is perhaps the hardest for English speaker. This is ui. I heard from linguists that to pronounce this letter, it's like you were punched in the gut, and your reaction after being punched in the gut. So apparently this is, I always find it funny. But for native Chinese speaker, this is not hard at all. We have something very similar to that. So this is ui. Ui, perhaps this is how you do it. This, okay. So this letter reads like ui. Don't worry, if you can memorize all of them, we're gonna practice these vowels and also consonants with actual words. These are just the vowels, the 10 vowels. So these vowels marks the hardness of a consonant. Hard. Okay, so I'm just gonna make my notes a little bit short. Okay, just soft consonant and hard consonant. All right. Anyway, we'll see what these mean. Okay. Anyway, I'll try to interrupt as little as possible. Okay. The softness or soundness of a sound also depend on the subsequent consonant. Okay. A lot of rules. There's a lot of rules in Russian, okay, which is once again great for mathematicians. Mathematicians were specialized in operating with all kinds of rules and axioms. And in a sense, Russian language kind of worked like that, which was, I think, one of the reasons I enjoyed learning it during COVID. Furthermore, the Russian alphabet contains 3 consonant letters which designate hard sounds only. All right, so consonants with hard sounds only. So if you're learning Russian for general purpose, perhaps this bores the heck out of people. Okay, so I figure if you try to learn Russian to actually to speak Russian, this is perhaps the most boring way to learn a language. But so this is perhaps why I want to put the disclaimer that if you're doing that, probably don't follow this stream, and follow an actual linguist. Okay, we're doing this for the sake of reading, and reading very specific technical document and papers and books and whatever. Consonant with hard sounds only. So these consonants these three consonant letters designate hard sounds only. So this is sh. This is sh. So this is how you pronounce it. This is sh. And the next letter is zh, zh, like this, like that. All right, zh. There was a famous Soviet algebraist. His name is Shafarevich. Sorry, my goodness, I could not pronounce his name accurately. Let me just trying to find his name. Shafarevich. He's also a Soviet dissident. Igor Shafarevich, yes. I believe he was a friend of the great novelist Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Why do I mention his name? Because his last name, She, was actually a mathematical notation. So he worked in algebra and algebraic number theory. There was a group called Shafarevich group that uses his uses this letter to in honor of him. Okay, can I maybe find the Shafarevich group in Wikipedia? Yeah, and he's also very so you can see why this reason is perhaps he was very close to Solzhenitsyn. I woke up and was like, when did Mr. decide to learn Russian? But someone kind of speak Russian, great effort. Thank you very much. Spasiba. So, yeah, I was trying to find the group. Okay, anyway, Shafarevich group. So, the notation for Shafarevich group uses this letter here, right here. Tate Shafarevich group. You see here, this letter, Sh. In arithmetic geometry, the Tate Shafarevich group, Sh A K. Oh, sorry, I'm like reading like Russian. So this is Sh A K. Okay, not A K. Sh A K of an abelian variety A, or generally a group scheme defined over a number field K, consists of blah blah blah. So it's very advanced algebra stuff. All right. So you see, this group was introduced by Serge Lang and John Tate and Igor Shafarevich. Castles introduced the notation Sh A K, where Sh is the Cyrillic letter Sha. Okay, this is read as Sha. Okay, sorry, my bad. This is read as Sha for Shafarevich, replacing the old notation TS or this. Okay, so that's the notation. Pretty cool. I think this is perhaps the singular example of Cyrillic letter being used as standard mathematical notation. Typically in mathematics you use Latin or Greek letters, right? But rarely Cyrillic letter. But yeah, this is an exception. Pretty cool. Anyway, let's continue. Here, what's the third consonant? The C. C. It looks like this. Again, very odd-looking letter. If you're a Latin-based language user, okay, so this is C. Read like this. It's like it's in it's good. C in English. So these consonants indicate hard sounds only, and there are two letters which indicate soft sounds only. Soft sound only there are two. This is ch, I believe. This is ch. For example, the Russian word for 4, the number 4 is четыре. Start with this letter. And the other letter is perhaps a little bit hard to pronounce. But it's similar to sh, but it's softer. So I'll just use actually let me use the printed version. Okay, I don't print very well because I learned the writing system in cursive, so I don't print very well, but I'll try to print as much as possible because I figure if I do cursive on screen and somebody is not very comfortable with cursive, it will be difficult to say read my notes if you ever want to do that and compare that with a textbook. So it takes a little bit of practice to write in cursive Russian. More so than in English, in my opinion, because of how the letters are joined and the writing version might look a little bit different in sometimes quite substantial ways. For example, the Russian letter T or T in print looks just like English T, but in writing you write like this. This is a lowercase t, looks like an M, and the uppercase t looks like this. This is t. Okay, so if I write a lot of cursive, then perhaps it's difficult for a viewer to follow. Okay, so this is software. So in transliteration, it often written as such. So like this, or actually, you know what? There was a Soviet leader. His name was Nikita Khrushchev. Nikita Khrushchev. So that has this letter in it. Let me just put it. It's kind of like how you say shoes in English. So think of these two English words, shrimp and shoe. Can you tell the difference between the consonants? So here, what's going on? Yeah, this is my notes. This one is similar to how shoes is pronounced, but let me just figure out the transliteration for Nikita Khrushchev. Nikita Khrushchev. So he was famous for smacking his shoes at the UN Security Council. Nikita Khrushchev. Yeah, see, SHCH. I never got this transliteration. Feels so weird to me. But this is how the letter, there you go, Ruski. There you go. Yeah, this is the letter. Nikita Khrushchev, Sergeyevich. All right, so it kind of sounds like the sh in SH in the word shoe. Let me put that down. Like SH in shoe. This letter, on the other hand, sounds like the SH in the word shrimp. So it's harder. What am I doing here? Nikita, do you speak Russian? Что я тут делаю? Thank you for joining the stream. I don't know why you're here, but I would appreciate your advice. Okay. Thank you very much for joining the stream. That's the idea. So we've seen some letters, but of course this is just a subset of all 33 characters. So now let's start with R. Actually, you know what? Here's this last paragraph in the introductory section. It says, stressed vowels in the Russian language are articulated with greater length and tenseness than unstressed vowels. The dynamic of stress in the Russian language is characterized by greater strength and tension in comparison with stress in the English language. Vowel sounds at the beginning of a word and in the beginning of a stressed syllable undergoes the least reduction. Okay, so if you don't already know the language, this probably sounds like nothing. Okay, but anyway, that's not important. Let's get on with the actual vowels. 1.2. Vowels, these are vowels, okay? We're studying the vowels. Or, U, E. All right, so these are the four vowels. In the Russian language, in the Russian language, the letter A, when stressed, symbolizes a sound which is pronounced like in the word car. So, sounds like car. How A reads in the word car. The Russian sound A is open and lax. To pronounce it correctly, imagine that you have to tell your friend that your car broken down. He is in the next room and moreover hard of hearing. He already knows that something broke down and you only have to tell him what it was. To pronounce the word car so loudly that he will be able to hear it. To pronounce it with the same articulation but more softly, you will hear the difference. The mouth cavity while pronouncing the Russian ah should be open as wide as possible. The air passing freely through the mouth. So let's do that. Ah, 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 ah. I feel like I'm the only one who doesn't know Russian here. Well, you're not the only one. I'm very much like I'm an epsilon greater than 0, but still very close to 0. Okay. The hard level is to write and pronounce name of, oh, I don't know what this is, GM Ni or okay, I have 0 clue. Anyway, thank you, Ivan, for joining the stream. Here, the next letter, or. The next letter, or, when stressed, is pronounced like the sound or in the o in the word fort. Okay, so or. This sounds like the letter o in the word fort. There we go. When you pronounce the sound or, the lips are round and protrude. The tongue slightly retract. The protrusion of the lips determines the oo-like sound in the initial phase of or. So anyway, this reads like or. Let's do that 6 times or 7 times. Or, 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 or. All right. So that's the vowel or. You should know that most Russian sounds are produced in the fore part of the mouth and not in the larynx, which is the essential difference between them and corresponding English sounds. If you ignore the difference in articulation, you will have in future a heavy accent to get rid of. Okay, so hopefully we don't suffer from that problem. Okay. There's a little bit of a note here. The essential peculiarity of the Russian speech is that the letter O, when unstressed, is pronounced like the reduced ah. Okay, so let's just give an example for that. Why don't we take our beloved Kolmogorov. So his name has 1, 2, 3, 4 or in it. But as you can see, in the Russian pronunciation, the third or is stressed. So the other sounds like short ah. So in English, you just say Kolmogorov, right? So, but in Russian, it sounds like more like, here, can we pronounce it?
Андрей Николаевич Kolmogorov.
Okay, it's pretty close, huh? It's not that different from how you say it in English. Perhaps that's not the best example, but certainly this or is stressed. Okay, so when stressed, it sounds exactly that how we just practiced, or. Whereas the other O's or sound a little bit different from that. Okay, just to bear in mind. Okay, not super important right now, but later it will become important. Okay, and the letter U, when unstressed, symbolizes a sound U in the word moon or spoon. Okay, so like in the English word moon. I don't think this is too hard for English speaker either, just ooh, right? So we can say that pretty well, in my opinion. The lips are considerably protrude. Okay, so let's pronounce this. Ooh. Pronounce this 7 times. Ooh, 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 ooh. All right, so that's the third one. And the last one in this set is air. Air. I think the word, not the word, but it's like in English we say epsilon, right? Epsilon. The Greek letter epsilon in real analysis. In Russian, I think it's epsilon. Epsilon. The Russian ed resembles the vowel sound in English word pet. Okay, pet. I guess it's not bad to explain the concept of vowel reduction. Молоко, yes. Молоко, that's a perfect example. Спасибо большое. So vowel reduction, молоко means milk. Молоко. You see how distinct the sounds are. Молоко. The two O sound like ah. Молоко. And perhaps another example, the capital of Russia, Moscow, is Moskva. So because of the last letter ah is stressed, it's not Moskva, it's Moskva. So I is the first O is unstressed, it's Moskva. Okay, so that's a great example. Thank you very much for chat for giving that example. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, this the letter E is pronounced only when stressed. Unstressed acquires a E sound like. Okay, I'm not quite sure because I mean I've never seen too many examples for that, but basically this has a lot also an unstressed sound. The last one also has an unstressed sound. Okay, exercises. I wanted to point it out because it's one of the most yes, exactly. I know it is important because if you mess up the stress, you sound super weird. As I was saying earlier, that one of my greatest struggle when it comes to Russian pronunciation is the location of the stress. And it didn't seem to me, in my limited experience, that there's not much pattern going on. You have to memorize the stress location for each individual word. So let's say, like, how do you know the last O in the word malako is stressed? Right. So, thank you very much. Okay, so that's the four letters. Okay, so now let's read and write at the same time. Okay, exercise 1. Exercise 1, read the Russian letters. The first set, a, o, a, u, a, e. Okay, o, a, o, u, o, e. Okay, this sounds like the mathematical symbol for the set inclusion, huh? This one. So sometimes, like we want to write, say, for example, for all x in real, f of x equals x squared. Right? You can just do that like this. R contains x, and x maps to x squared. So sometimes this saves you a letter for the function name because sometimes the function is only used once and you don't want to introduce unnecessary notation. And because here x it's awkward to write x maps to x squared and x is in R. Right, so this saves you some writing. I think this shows up, by the way, this kind of writing is perhaps less common in English language literature, but for example, in Vladimir Zorich, I'll try to pronounce Russian, okay, Vladimir Zorich book on mathematical analysis. This shows up a lot. 2 volume. Fantastic book, by the way, also in English. These, as I said, foundational Russian texts are now pretty much already translated. Well, but you never know, right? There might be other foundational texts uh, being published later, and usually translating textbook takes years. So if for some reason a book is published in Russian only, you can immediately read it other than relying on translation. Although nowadays you have AI, so perhaps it's hard to make a case for that. But then again, I mean, you don't want to completely trust AI all the time, right? So I'm trying to do my sales pitch here, okay? Um, this is volume 1 and 2, excellent text, okay? And it has its own very distinct flavor, let's say, compared to great Western counterpart like Apostle, Spivak, and that sort of thing. And definitely not like Rudin. So if you find, say, Baby Rudin too dry, try out a mathematical analysis by Vladimir Zolich. Anyway, let's continue pronouncing letters. U, A, U, O, U, E, E, A, E, O, E, U. All right, so I just want to perhaps add the cursive version of these letters on the side. So this is A, upper and lower cases. Is it mostly similar to the printed version? O, U, and E. Okay, not much different. Not much difference here. So the hardest part about writing cursive in Russian is to connect, join the letters. Individual cursive letters aren't that difficult. Okay. 2. For example, just give an example, say the word malako. If you write that in cursive, it looks something like this. My goodness. Say malako, you need to join the letter. So okay, so this is odd. Okay, my goodness. I don't know how to join the or and, because or, the stroke of or ends on top, and then you have to go like here. Okay, native speaker, please point out if this is legible to you. Okay, malako. Once again, I'm very rusty, but when I first practice it, it feels, my muscle memory tells me this is how you write it. Okay, as you can see, if you don't already know the word, this can be perhaps hard to read, right? And it's just faster. It's just faster than saying printing individual letters. And Moskva would be written something like this, Moskva. So once again, you see how the letters are joined. Right. Oh, anyway, let's continue. So because I just wanted to write this because at some point I might switch to cursive just for faster speed, but I will still print most of the time. The second set of exercises is nie min ansh. So did I make a mistake? If I did, please point it out. Okay, I much appreciate it. Because getting feedback is perhaps, I mean, I wouldn't call it the most important part of learning because your own effort is the most important part of learning, but definitely getting feedback helps things exponentially. It's more like malako is not that bad. I do even say go to say tend to connect all from the bottom. Really? Like this? This just looks so weird to me. I mean, once again, this is no, you're right. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ash. You see, this is so great about YouTube. I can stream online, and people point out my misunderstanding and mistake. If I just do it by myself, Uh, I was trying to say hi me in Russian. You say привет, mean. And I had a Russian professor in uni, and he pronounced my name with the letter G uh, said out loud. He said like Ming, which kind of weirded me out. But later on, I started to learn Russian. I understood all the letters were actually pronounced. So yeah, it makes sense. Спасибо. Second set. A, O, U. O, U, E. U, E, A. E, A, O. Okay. Okay. Third set. In slang, by the way, we have hi. Okay. But yeah, natively it's previous. Hi. It just sounds a little bit harsh, right? Um, uh, in English, it's like hi there. And if you pronounce the Cyrillics literally with hi, with a heavy Russian accent. Anyway, the third set, eh. I guess it's very similar everywhere, right? Even in China, people greet each other nowadays with hello, hi, that sort of stuff. It's such a random topic, but it perfectly fits my interest. Thank you very much. This, I know, right? I do random things. Sorry, or ah. Hello, my friend. Hi, Wild. Thank you very much for joining the stream. Or a, u. Four, four set. A, o, u, a, u, o. A, o, u. Fifth set. Or, u, a. Or, a, u. Or, a, u, U, a, o. U, a, o, U, o, a. Seven. Seven. A, o, u. O, u, a. U, a, o. Wow, you speak Russian? I not really. I know the basics. I mean, these letters aren't new to me, okay? But I don't speak Russian fluently. I'm not. I don't think I'm even A1, if for that matter. But once again, we're not trying to develop speaking skill, at least not right now. Our goal is to develop reading skills for, in particular, for Russian mathematical and pedagogical articles and stuff. I started reviewing arithmetic with the book from the USSR. Awesome stuff. Exactly, that's what I was saying, right? The foundational text on Russian contributions to advanced mathematics were now largely translated, but pedagogical stuff and more applied stuff aren't. Hello, nice to see someone tutoring Russian for mathematicians. I'm not tutoring, okay? I'm practicing. Yeah, I'm not qualified for tutoring. It's just like I'm trying to practice myself. And the great thing is, when I do so, chat corrects me, which is amazing. In Poland, where I'm from, for the whole 20th century, we have access to most Russian. I guess so. Okay, because of the politics. Okay. Thank you very much for joining the stream. So, and actually, speaking of which, why don't we talk about numbers in Russian, huh? So, um, one in Russian is один. So let me try to write things один like this. One is один, two is два, three is три, kind of like three, right? Три, or the like triangle, tri, три. Four is четыре. Oh, how do you spell четыре? Ch, is it yeah? Yeah, probably yeah. Четыре, четыре. Yeah, like probably like this. Четыре, four. Five is пять. Five is пять. Six is шесть. Шесть. How do you spell шесть? Okay, so even this is the cursive. I think this is intelligible, huh? Шесть. Four, четыре. Спасибо. And seven is семь. Is there some kind of like soft or hard sign at the end? Семь, like this, or just this семь perhaps? Okay, I have to look it up. Okay, why don't we just look it up? Google Translate. There you go. Seven in Russian. Eight is восемь. Nine is девять. And 10 is 10, if I recall correctly. Yeah, I remember there's a mягкий знак at the end, right? There's a mягкий знак at the end, the soft sign. I never got this one, no. I don't know what difference would it make if you remove the mягкий знак, but this is how you spell. So, семь. Okay, all right, so this is section 1.2, vowels a, o, e. Section 1.3, consonants. So now we're dealing with consonants now. Consonants. B. Like this. It's kind of like the how do you write delta in epsilon delta, right? In not like this, right? Delta is like this. Okay, my bad. Not the same. B. Horrible writing. Practice as much as is enticing. Wish you all the luck. Thank you so much. Спасибо. Is this p or yeah? It's like a pi, right? Like the product sign, and it's pronounced something similar in Russian. M. M is the easiest one. Okay, perhaps the easiest one. So this is pronounced like a book. You just write it down. How you, just like English B. And or but at the beginning of a word. When located in front of hard when located in front of hard consonants and preceding vowels, a or u, yeah, a or u, the preceding vowels a, u, e, pronounce the sound without any tension, and remember that the stream of the exhaled air should not be strong, as the Russian billable bilabial sounds are not aspired. I'm not actually sure what that means. Okay, so let's practice a few. So this is ba, bo, bu. Why am I writing this like a sigma? Is that okay? Is this a horrible print? Perhaps this is horrible. Let me fix that. Ba. Actually, you know what? Why don't we look up the writing system? This is what learning is about. Russian letters writing. Russian alphabet from Wikipedia. So how do you write this? Can we get a, yeah, this is cursive. B looks like this. B looks like this. Marx says in I'm saying it like as if I'm pronouncing Russian Max. Okay? English is Max, and in Russian is Marx. And Max work says in Russia they say complex analysis, not emphasizing or, but yeah. So not complexный, not complexный анализ, but комплексный, right? Комплексный анализ, right? So yeah. Did you edited your text anyway? So by the way, it's quite funny that the cursive T is different as and I same goes for be. You write it more like sigma, but I have almost never seen anyone write it like that, right? It's just always like this. You see, this is the cursive letters. Beautiful in my opinion. This is absolutely gorgeous. I love this stuff. How beautiful is that? Glorious. And in Ontario, at least where I live, okay, so in we largely stopped teaching cursive writing of English in schools. Not even reading. Okay, not you don't even need to be able to read cursive in English anymore. But I believe in Russia, and they still teach cursive writing. So, my goodness, I cannot stand this stuff. This sound let's read like six. It just hurts my brain. I'll use the cursive letter, right, like this. Think there is a rhythm to it. So you draw it. How do you draw this? You go from low to up, right? Not like this, but so. How do you write where in Russian? Chat, let me know. Is this? Does this? No, this is horrible. Does this look okay to you? Where? Like delta. That's why I was thinking. Oh, it looks like a delta in Greek letter. They save so much time in lecture. Is it like this? Is it okay to you? So I think bear should be written this way, huh? Or yeah, it's just take a look at it again. The final stroke is almost flat. It should not be going up like this, huh? Let me fix that. This looks good to me, at least to me, but let me just do it that way. Okay, so ba bo bu be bo bu be ba. Okay, and bu be ba bo. Consonants. Okay, the first so the consonants be. Okay, and then you have the big pie looking letter, so that's is that pa, right? I believe pa. So pa. Okay, so the sound designated by this letter, okay, is a voiceless pair of be. Okay, so there's a voiceless pair of be, and is articulated in the English sound p in the word aspect. So for example, aspect or space. Hang on, yeah, aspect or space. So that's the example given in the text. Okay. The Russian p is lax, and the stream of exhaled air should not be strong. So this is pa. I believe the cursive should be like this. Cursive should be like this. It's not that different from the printed version. Oh, actually, no, never mind. The lowercase is like this. It's like little n. Now I remember. The little case is like n. Yeah, take a look. I'm not making this up. See, lowercase looks like a little n in English. Pa, like in papa, means dad. Po, I think it's a proposition. Po is a proposition. Like, yeah, like little n. This is a proposition. Or it can be part of the word, huh? It's like I speak Russian would be Я говорю по-русски. It's like if a literal translation would be I speak in the Russian way, по-русски. It's like in according to some kind of fashion, which is kind of interesting. It's not like you literally translate I speak the Russian language, but Rush is like I speak in the Russian way. Я говорю по-русски. Hi Marco. Hi. Um, Thank you very much for joining the stream again. Yeah, I remember you from the tensor stream. Anyway, so let's continue. This is pu. I cannot stand this little pi notation, man. Not notation, but writing. Pa. Okay, I'm gonna write it as pa. This is pa. This is po. This is pu. 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 Pe. Pe. All right. Po. Pu. Pe. Pa. Pu. Pu. Pe. Pa. Po. All right, so that's the second set. And M. M is the easiest one, right? Just like in the word mark. You already know this one. Everybody already know this one. So, like in Ming, right? Same thing. Okay, so let's pronounce with a few combinations. So you get ma, mo, mu, me. Okay, and more. Oh, why am I read print and do cursive at the same time? Anyway, screw it. It's my own note. Mu, me, ma. Mu, me, ma, more. And your capital letter printed big pi. I guess we wouldn't write it like that, like you, because it's written continuous line. Wouldn't go out to the vertical ones unless style. So I was trying to mimic the one in the table. Is this too fancy? Is this one too fancy? Like I was trying to mimic the shape of this one. Is this for real? Is Ming teaching Russian? I'm not teaching Russian. I'm practicing it myself, and there's I get feedback for free. I don't have to hire a tutor. I just need to do it with YouTube Live. Isn't that awesome? Hi Wendelin, thank you very much for joining the stream. So yeah, I'll actually because I already went over time, but let me just finish perhaps. Let me just I'll finish this section and I will do it the next time. Okay, so anyway, so yeah, these are the three consonants, pe, pe, and m. So yeah, just for the cursive version, you have bed that looks like this. M is M. Mother, mama. I guess it's also, yeah, mama is so universal, man. I mean the cursive one. So is this okay or too fancy? Or just like this, shorter? The non-cursive. Okay, the non-cursive one. Okay, the non-cursive one. This is weird. Okay. It just looked like a door. Huh? Like this. Printed version. Because I'm still used to like how you write the product sign, big pi, from y1 to n, f of xi, zeta. This is the likelihood function. Anyway, Russian and math. Let me know in chat. Do you see this kind of content on YouTube? Thank you very much. All right, so let's continue. So here's a little vocabulary lesson. So po is a preposition. The preposition means on, over, and by. Should we give some example? I think we should, because otherwise it means nothing. Okay, so anyway, there's a problem for me. Okay, there's a problem for me. It's because I do not know how to input Russian effectively. I guess I can put a Russian. What's that? I can add a keyboard. No, I can add a foreign language keyboard. Time and language. Oh, actually, I do have Russian. But how come do I basic typing? But why don't I have Russian in here? It's just I have that, but why can't I just add a keyboard? Did I maybe move up? Russian keyboard, you learn it pretty quickly. I mean, I don't have the keys. This is a standard laptop keyboard setup. There's no Cyrillic letter literally on my key. But why don't I have Russian in the? Is you have English, Chinese, and English? Why don't I mean I'm always annoyed by this. Oh wow, you have never seen for notation in my university, never struggled to guess what it stands for. Always found confused the Russian keyboard. You need to install it. Keyboard and language option on always synonymous. How do I install it? Anyway, it's not important now. But I just wanted to input for okay. Anyway, I just wanted to input the letter. Perhaps it's you can write it and let AI to recognize it. Let me put it here. So Russian handwriting recognition. Yeah, perhaps this is okay. Can I just draw it here, or I have to upload an image? Oh, that's annoying. Can I? Why can't I just? There's a third-party tool. Let me just because. Okay, so I have to fix that at some point. You have to drop an image. Okay, which is not a big deal. It's not big. I'll figure out a way to type Russian. There's a more efficient way to do that. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to give an example of the preposition po. Maybe Chad can help me out here. So this is po. For example, wiki dictionary. But this is all in Russian. Can we maybe change it to English? Yeah, this way is perhaps easier. This is Bulgarian. Okay, let me go to Russian. Po. Po. Used broadly to indicate action, typically involving movement across the surface or across several things in a general flat plane. Okay, this is interesting. This is useful in geometry. I can already tell. Yeah. So So here comes perhaps the most difficult part in elementary Russian is the word conjugation or declension. So I remember you use dative case. You use dative case after the word po. Он плыл, он плыл по реке. Is that how you pronounce it? Google Translate help me out. Okay, so I'll try to Google Translate first and then I'll read it. I know it's not perfect, but something better than nothing. Okay, so I'm perhaps the opposite of perfectionism. I'm okay with incremental progress. So this is Russian, English. He was swimming along the river. Yeah.
Он плыл по реке. Он плыл по реке.
Он плыл по реке. Он плыл по реке. So по is along. Реке, река is the river. Реке is the dative case because of по. Okay, so that's
Он плыл по реке.
он плыл по реке. Actually, my biggest struggle right now is to read full sentences. I think I'm okay with individual sounds, but when it comes to full sentences like that, it was difficult. So let's give an example of by. So here, for example, on Leo. Is this weird to use cursive and print together? But I think perhaps this is okay. Right? On Leo Purikie. What references do you use for just for the record? I'm using the textbook called, I'll show you right away. This one right here is called Russian for Mathematicians by, I believe this is Olga Glazunova. It's written all to just read Landau in original. Actually, no. Actually, if I wanted to read Landau and Lifshitz, I would not use the Russian version, at least right now. Okay, not right now. But more for pedagogical and applied content. Okay, foundation, as I said, foundational Russian text. Let's say if I wanted to learn quantum physics from Landau and Lifshitz, I would just read the English version because I don't want to struggle with the difficulty in the language and the subject matter itself. Right? That will be a disaster. So, yeah. At least that's my current level. Okay, we're trying to learn Russian for a very specific purpose. Okay, we're not gonna read Dostoevsky for that matter. Okay? I mean, of course, that's a noble goal. Okay, but the thing is, what I'm trying to say is the level, the linguistic aspect, the linguistic in mathematical literature. So to say, the Russian is a highly complex language. It is highly complex and it's very deep. But for a specific purpose, I think it's still manageable because you don't always need advanced vocabularies to understand papers. Anyway, so here we go. This is a good example. По реке. Реке is river. Он плыл, so that's the past tense. He was swimming. Why do I write H as nie? No, that's not a good idea. So H, he was swimming along the river. Swimming along the river. All right. We would definitely understand it if you mix cursive and print it. Some letters we could just attribute it to your stylistic choice. Thank you very much. So this is along the river. So that's one example. And on, over. I can't think of an example. Let's take a look at the dictionary. So po. More example. Second, used to indicate the object, field, topic that something is applied to. For, on, about, in, of. This is ministerstva, minister. Perhaps this is to MCHS. All right, that's a Russian government or agency. It's for like disaster rescue, that kind of thing. Okay, Minister of Emergency Situation. Okay, so perhaps this is too advanced. Let's take a look at a more. Oh, right, this is a good one. This is a good one. Exam, biology exam, or literally by exam in, on, in, and for biology. Examen, examen. Notice how I is stressed. Examen по биологии. Biologia. So the second O is stressed, biologia. So this once again use dative. I believe this is dative. Yeah. If the original form is biologia, biologia. So you use the dative case. Well, of course, there's going to be a lot of training later on about cases in Russian and verb conjugation. Very difficult compared to English word conjugation, if there's any. I mean, yeah. So English still has very limited declensions, conjugation, that sort of thing. But in Russian, it is very extensive. Okay, just different, very very different. I mean, they're all Indo-European language, but Russian is very different from English. Examen по биологии, and it's also very different from Chinese. So this is extra challenging for me. So second example, examen по биологии. Some example may be we're on the same path. We're on the same path. I dance on Wednesday. Math exam study on course. Okay. Chat, if you can write your examples in Russian. Yeah, okay, I see. So, it actually automatically translated. Did YouTube automatically translate? I don't want translation in this case. Нам с тобой по пути. How do you see? I'm struggling with the. I'll use the example given by chat. Okay, I'll use the example given by chat. Actually, I think YouTube chat automatically translate, and it didn't know this is a language learning stream. So, okay. Anyway, if I hover my mouse on top of it, so chat guys, look at this. So here, if I hover my mouse on top of it, then it will show the original. If I don't, then it's in English translation. So нам с тобой по пути. So, interesting. Okay, нам с тобой, we are on the same path. Нам с тобой по пути. Okay, no. Use print version. We are on the same path. Okay, preposition is always hard. I mean, themselves are not hard, but how do you use them? Нам с тобой по пути. Okay. Yeah, I guess possibly some previously message will also translate. Yeah, so I didn't realize. So because I was just, yeah, let me just put it on the side, okay, guys. If you see if something is automatically translated, let me know. Okay, if I'm reading the translated version, I'll correct that mistake. Okay, and я танцую по средам. Я танцую по средам. I dance on Wednesday. So on the way means on the way. Yeah. So okay. Anyway, let me put this section here because I didn't. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So here, that's we don't need the Wikipedia anymore. Sorry. This is a chat. Chat goes here. Notes goes here. Actually, if I write, does the chat disappear? Let me see. Oh, actually it does. That's not good. Okay, let me just put it this way. Okay. Give chat space, and I'm writing here. Example 1. Пример 1. Example 2. Пример 2. Пример 3. So, how to write correctly the letter delta? I think it's just this. Let epsilon greater than 0, pick delta to be half epsilon perhaps. Suppose x minus 1 less than delta, blah blah blah. F of x minus L is less than epsilon. Therefore, the limit is LQED. Okay, that's the format of proof in real analysis. Anyway, 3, the example given by the chat is, yeah, that's a classic one. Actually, let me write that, the dance one. I I dance on Thursday, on Wednesday. Я танцую по средам. Я танцую по средам. Я танцую по средам. Um, I dance on Wednesday. On Wednesdays. Sredam. So Sredam is Wednesday. Actually, I don't know the original form. Okay, perhaps it's not a good idea to expand too far because right now we're supposed to be in the phonetic section. Okay, not grammar. This is too overwhelming. But okay, I'm just saying to finish writing this example, we'll move on. Okay, I dance. I was planning to close the stream at 9, but anyway, we'll finish this up. I dance on Wednesdays. Can't even spell English. My goodness. Okay. Okay. Sreda. Sreda is the original form. Спасибо. Danila. Oh, it's translated. You see? Sreda. It automatically gets translated to environment. Perhaps it's like the medium, right? The medium is like the medium of wave transportation. Medium. So 4 would be math exam. Exam по математике. Экзамен по математике. Math exam. Okay, spelling looks okay. And so this is a math exam. And the fifth one is учить по курсу. Учить по курсу. Учить. Учить is learn. По курсу. По курсу. Okay, so these are all So course is just like course. It's just like course, regular. I think they all come from French. I think both English and the Russian word course comes from French. Curso. So this is learn on the course, like following a particular curriculum. That kind of stuff. Study, study, just study on course, or just study the course, I guess. Study the course. All right. Poor, a very important proposition. We see this a ton in actual literature, of course. Preposition, extremely important. Anyway, so what's the next vocabulary? You know, okay. Just bring the chat to the other screen now. Actually, let me put the chat here. Let me put the chat here. So hopefully this is not too much information going on the screen. Okay, I apologize for the disorganizedness. Okay, anyway, so let's continue to the text. And hopefully next time we'll do some actual reading of mathematical expression. Say, how do you read a function, something like that. That'll be fun. Okay, so we'll finish 1.3 and we'll call it a day. Okay, and more vocabulary. This is poor. Of course, the two next one are very simple. So you get papa and mama. Okay, just literally means dad and mom. Papa, papa. This is dad, and mama is mom. Okay. Exercise. Read the Russian syllables. Exercise 2. This is boom, 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 bomb, bomb, pom, bam, pam, bam, and pam. Okay. Once again. Еще раз. Boom, pum, bom, pom, bam, pam, bam, pam. Nice. All right. That's it. Actually, there's an exercise 3. My bad. There's an exercise 3. It says read and memorize the reading of the Latin letters in the Russian language. Well, we already did that. We already did that. Ah reads like this. Or this is a transliteration. Where transliteration, and finally m. So m. All right. Okay. That's it for today. We'll do continue our live stream on tensors, actual mathematics. And this evening we'll do measure theory. Okay, that's it for today. Not for today. That's it for this stream. Let me know in the comment. I mean, the recording will be up in a second. Is it Pam? I think Pam, probably, yeah. These aren't meant to mean anything. Okay, just practicing the consonant, the syllables. Okay, so right now there's no meaning here. Okay, and that's it for today. That's it for this stream. Okay, and let me know in the comment or in chat Like, if you find this stuff interesting, and it doesn't matter really. Actually, I mean, I do appreciate your feedback, but if I find it interesting, I'll continue doing this. Okay, I'm not gonna stop doing this because somebody tell me that your Russian sucks. Well, that's the point, right? So I'll do it regardless. Thank you very much. Have a good day, good evening, you too. So baka baka, right? That's how you say it, right? In Russian, baka baka. Not das vidanya. That would be like the very formal. So we're not very formal on this channel, as you all know. Baka baka.